Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back for another lesson of biology. Today we are going through lesson 11, some examples of monohybrid inheritance. Before you start the video, remember to like and subscribe my channel. Also, share your video to your classmates and remind them to do their revision at home. Let's start. There are many examples of monohybrid inheritance, and on page 14 of your book, you can actually read it on your own, and I will give you just some pictures and examples for easy reference. For the hairline, you have different types. You have the window peak, like this. It can be a dominant character as homozygous dominant or heterozygous. You will show the window peak. And for the recessive character, you will only have the strict hairline. It has to be homozygous recessive. Famous examples include window peak, you have Captain America. And then for strict hairline, you have Tony Stark, the Iron Man. For the free ear loop, it has to be a dominant character. So it can either be homozygous dominant or heterozygous. While for recessive character, it has to be attached ear loop. So it has to be homozygous recessive in order to have attached ear loop. This is what we call a free ear loop. This is what we call a attached ear loop. Dimple as well. The dimple allele is actually dominant, so if you want to have dimple, you can either be a homozygous dominant or a heterozygous. If you don't have dimples, that means you must be homozygous recessive, both recessive allele. Shown in here, you have a very cute little baby with dimples. If you have a strict thumb, that means you have the dominant allele. You can either be homozygous dominant or heterozygous. But if you have a curved thumb, so you must be a homozygous recessive. So this is a strict thumb, and this is a curved thumb. The shape of the little finger is also controlled by dominant and recessive allele. If you have curved little finger, you must be either a homozygous dominant or heterozygous. And if you have a strict little finger, you must be having two recessive allele, homozygous recessive. Showing you in the diagram here, you have some maize, some corns with some grains on top. And there are actually different grains, the purple grain or the yellow grain. Each of the grains, they are individual offspring. 大家都係啲個體嘅後代嚟嘅。So now I would like you to count the number of the grains to tell me whether it's the purple allele dominant or the yellow allele dominant. Some of you might be confused. Why? Why is the corn an individual? So let's take a look. This is actually a corn flower. Each of these, okay, each of these, they're actually the stigma. And at the very bottom of the stigma, each of them, they're actually ovary. So if each of the ovary inside, they have fertilization, each of them, they will become a new seed, they become a new embryo. So each of the grain, they're actually one single individuals. So by counting the number of purple grain and the yellow grain, you'll be able to know which character is actually the dominant character. Alright, so how do you do it? You don't need to count all of them, just count, for example, one single line. Let's take a look. For the purple grain, how many of you can you find? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you have 12 grain. Well, for yellow grain, how many do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so in here you have 4 yellow grain and 12 purple grain. What do you see here? You actually see a ratio of 3 to 1. Alright, so if you see a ratio of 3 to 1, purple to yellow grain, which character is the dominant character? It should be purple allele is the dominant allele. So let's fill it in. For the ratio of purple to yellow grain, it should be 3 to 1. And for the allele of purple, it should be dominant. Now, I would like you to deduce the genotype and phenotype of the parents of the maize crop. From the last slide, you know that for the ratio of purple to yellow, it should be 3 to 1. And you learned about the 3 to 1 ratio in the genetic diagram before. For both parents, if you need to get the 3 to 1 ratio, both parents, they must be heterozygote. Alright, so heterozygotes, that means they have different allele, such as the big D and small d together. Alright, so now the purple grain is the dominant character and dominant allele in a heterozygote condition, which you have different allele. Which allele will express? It should be the dominant allele, right? Dominant allele will express. While which allele will be masked? The recessive allele is masked. 遮住咗啦. So therefore, the parents being a heterozygote with different alleles like this, they must be having the purple grain color because the purple dominant allele, they have stronger power to express. That's it for this part. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.